Sis and tell, sis and tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. Amanda does stand up. Alison's on TV. And when they hop on the phone, it's the place you want to be. Sis and tell. A whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing.
Hey, Allie.
Hey, man. How are you?
I got to dress up today because I have an audition.
Oh, is it a Zoom audition since everything is virtual today?
It's not Zoom. It's self-tape. So a lot of the auditions have been self-tape anyways, which means you either have your own setup and you're literally taping an audition by yourself with, if there's dialogue, then you have someone stand behind the camera to be the other person. There's also places you can go and they'll do the self-taping for you, and you sometimes get a little coaching, which is helpful. So I used to go to my father-in-law's and go to his basement because he had his old photography set up, and he used to do stock photography though. So he would start directing me as a stock photographer, right? And not as so he'd be like, I know sometimes I'd hire people just because they had a lab coat. Maybe you should put on a lab coat. And I was like, no, that's
not happening.
No.
Thanks for playing. We have some lovely parting gifts.
And so anyway, so now I have his equipment here, and I'm in the middle of upgrading it too because it's very bulky because it's from like the 80s. But yeah. So my issue now is, and I've been lucky to get a lot of commercial auditions. As people who've been listening to the podcast know, I got my entire family in a Papa John's commercial, which was really cool. Yep. What? We got go listen to Shakaroni, where we had an opportunity to kind of meet Shaquille O'Neal. He was inside a pizza box. Yeah. Spoiler.
You met him as much as anybody has met anybody in the past 5 months. I'll tell you that.
Right. That's true. So, but a lot of the opportunities I've been getting have been like with the family, mother and son, right? They want like real people because you can't socially distance on a set. So you either have to be comfortable, no matter how clean they keep the set, you have to be comfortable with someone else, or they're ideally trying to find like existing couples. So I recently got an opportunity, and I love my husband, but he's not an actor.
Anytime you say, I love my husband, but I know there's a zinger coming.
He's like super comfortable giving speeches, and he's a trial attorney, so he's not shy. He's great in front of judges, but don't put him in front of a camera. That's like a whole different situation. And so they're asking for like a comedic couple, but so I'm like, oh, I can't do it. I don't want to be with some random person. I don't know where they've been, so I'm going to have to reject this audition. But then I read further, and it says, or roommate. I'm like, well, no, or friend. And I'm like, I don't know. They're like, friend that might also have another agent, not necessarily your agent. And I'm like, oh, I have that friend, and it's Michael Sokol. You remember Michael Sokol, right?
Of course I know Michael Sokol, but I'm laughing at the verbiage. Like, why didn't they just say, literally, you can do this audition with anybody? Like right. I don't know why they have to stipulate a roommate, a friend, alien life form. Can't they just say, literally, find a living, breathing human being and just do the interview? Yeah, do the audition with them.
Well, no, because it has to be someone you're okay, who would feel comfortable in front of the camera, who maybe has some acting chops, and who you would be okay with on set. And I feel like if he's doing certain social distancing, then I feel comfortable being on set with him.
That's the middle of that Venn diagram that you've just described, though, right? Somebody who has an agent, who who is an actor, who's been social distancing and safely quarantining, who lives in Atlanta, and who doesn't have anything going on in the next half hour, right?
And everyone's like, who's Michael Sokol? I actually don't know who he is. No, I'm just joking. I grew up with Michael. He's one of my oldest friends, and he is a writer, a producer, an actor, and we used to have a web series that we did together called The Walking Dads, where we provided parenting and marital tips to survive your family during the zombie apocalypse. But we have like a really good rapport, right?
He's a great guy.
Yeah, so he's coming over this afternoon.
Here's the boiled down version of who Michael Sokol is. If I had to pick a fake virtual quarantine friendly husband for you, it would be Michael Sokol.
Right. but he's more, you know what? He's like more like a brother.
Right.
So it's like he reminds me a lot of Stuart. He really does. They have a very similar sense of humor. So when I hang out with him, I feel like I'm hanging out with Stuart. So it just makes them even more endearing.
Yeah.
So
and you just reminded me, hold on, I'm going off camera. You might hear some clicks because as you were talking about your production stuff, I just remembered that I have upgraded. Well, I didn't upgrade it, but I got sent. I'm going to unpack it while we're talking. But I got sent a lighting kit.
Did you get a ring light?
I got a ring light because I too am doing some virtual have some virtual work that I've been able to secure, which is very exciting.
How many inches is it? How many inches is your ring light?
How many inches is yours? Mine's pretty big. But
is it 18? I got the 18.
I don't know. It's this. I can stick my head in it. Is that?
Your head is so big, so it's really big. You have a big head.
I have a big head.
So that must be really big.
It's a big light. I don't think, does 18 inch, is that the diameter? It's definitely not.
Yes.
Not the circumference. So no, it's definitely not 18 inches.
It's not the girth, Allison.
No, I'm saying this is definitely not an 18-inch light, but you're going to see how much better I look. I can't believe I took it down. Because anyway, as I'm putting this together, so continue. So you've got this virtual audition.
So one of the things that they asked us to do, they want to see us talking together just naturally, how we are naturally. So they ask you to describe a vacation you went on together, except but I mean,
not a real one.
No, a real one.
Oh.
But they're expecting it to be like roommates, friends,
or that's funny.
Husband. They're not expecting it to be Michael Sokol, who is one of your oldest friends who you've never vacationed with. So the only thing I can think of is like we were really active in Jewish youth group together.
I was just going to say, are you going to describe a BBYO convention?
That does look good. Oh, you look great. Your eyes are sparkling.
I mean, it's like night and day, literally. That's not a play on words, but doesn't that look good?
Gorgeous.
I'm going to turn it.
Something's
I can adjust
being cut off. I can see it in the frame.
Oh, yeah. So hold on. This is the problem.
I mean, not that it matters. We're recording a podcast, not a... How did you do? You did it in front of the... It should be bright enough that it doesn't have to be in front of your computer.
What do you mean? Okay, there.
It can be... Okay.
What do you
think? That looks great.
I know. Sorry.
Look, you're so photogenic anyway.
Oh, you're very kind. But the lighting does, I mean, I got to get me one of these. This is
great. Can it follow us around?
This is just borrowed. The production company that I'm working with, or that's doing this other gig that I'm doing, is they sent me this and a lapel mic. Now, the lapel mic did not sound good. I did test that with my system. But the lighting, I was testing the lighting for a while now, and it's got 3 different settings. Anybody who is now like married to their computer doing Zoom meetings or recording all day, you got the light first, and it did. It made a huge difference.
I'm not
and I didn't
using
realize
it right now.
Well, I can tell because you look good, but you don't look spectacular.
No, can I just say, I didn't. Thank you for the birthday present last week of dressing up like me and sending me the screen grab of us, and I didn't post it because I look like Jay Leno. I don't know. Like, you look so pretty when you laugh, and I don't. And I think like the computer was like at a weird angle, so like my chin. No, go look at the screen grabs you sent to me. I look like Jay Leno. Like my chin looks ginormous. It's like a caricature.
Yeah, I'm looking at him right now
of Jay Leno as Amanda. It's as if Jay Leno was on our podcast and was like, "Surprise, Amanda! I dressed up like you for you."
Okay, now that you say that, I'm looking at the screen grabs. So it's only when you because you jutted. What is it? You jutted your chin out that way. So yeah, that was sorry.
Hi, I'm Jay Leno dressed up as Amanda for her belated birthday gift. That was a terrible
impersonation. Okay, can we go back to you and Michael Sokol taking your fake husband taking a fake vacation and was it? Are you going to do a BBYO convention? Did I guess right?
Yeah, no, I have to. My only memory, and he doesn't even remember it, is us.
Typical fake husband.
We were like on a bus with our BBYO chapter going to like Memphis, and it's like a 4-hour ride or wherever we were going. And I'm like the dummy who uses the bathroom on the bus. And what do you think happened? What do you think they thought was like the most hilarious thing to do?
Lock you in there?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Come on.
Michael Sokol and Jeremy Berry locked me in the bath. They like leaned on the door.
Come
and
on.
Not for like 2 minutes. It was like 30 minutes.
No.
Yeah.
That's
and then
so mean.
Eventually they let me out and it smelled. But we stopped at I smelled, I mean. And then we stopped at this gas station, and I must have been in like 8th grade. And 8th or 9th grade. We stopped at a gas station, and inside the gas station, in the bathroom, they were selling things. What do they sell in the bathroom besides tampons? What can you buy in a gas station bathroom?
Condoms.
Yes. So I thought this was the beginnings of my comedic career, me like looking for material. I was like, it'll be hilarious if I buy one of these condoms, right? And so I got the ribbed condom.
Oh, Lord. Now remind me, how old are you?
I was like 13.
Oh,
I thought it
Lordy.
would be funny. I didn't know it was ribbed for her pleasure. So anyway, so I bought
Not ripped. Ripped is not for her pleasure.
Not
Ribbed.
It's for no one's pleasure, right? So so I bought the condom and I brought it back on the bus and I was like, look, everybody, I bought a condom from a gas station. And, you know, I grew up with everyone who was on the bus. So they're like, oh, Amanda, womp womp. And then, so when we got there, they put us in homes with other people. It wasn't like we weren't staying at the JCC or like a camp. We were staying with people we didn't know.
Homestay. Yeah.
So I'm staying with this girl. I don't know her. And I'm like, what's a good icebreaker?
Oh,
I
no.
know.
Oh,
And I was like, hey, new friend, I did this hilarious thing. I bought a condom at the gas station. Look at it. Isn't it funny? Look. And she's like, uh-huh. And that was it. And she did not like me for the rest of the weekend. And it was super awkward. What made it even awkward is she had the same exact name as one of our cousins, first and last name. So I was like, oh my God, we have the same name as my cousin. And she didn't care about that either.
yeah. That was destined for disaster from the beginning.
So this is what I have to talk about.
That's not a great story for this
No,
audition.
I know it's not.
Oh,
I know,
okay.
I know.
I think when they say take a trip together, they don't mean a trip down memory lane. They mean an actual and a horrendous trip down memory lane, right?
Yeah, it's not good. So I shouldn't talk about that in the audition.
No,
No?
I don't actually. I'm thinking about just editing this whole part out of the podcast. Not sure we should even. I think Mommy will be horrified. That is actually a bonus. It's kind of fun when we horrify Mommy. Yeah.
So easily horrified. All I have to say is I look just like my sister. Her hair's straight and my hair is pubic.
Yeah.
And she's
There
like,
she goes.
oh no, please don't say that word. She gets like all of a sudden she gets like super Southern and like offended. Oh my gosh, did you say the word public in front of all of the octogenarians at the Jewish Federation event? And she sounds nothing like that.
Yeah,
But
I
it's
don't
just,
know who you were.
I don't know. It's just
Your
more fun.
accents are totally off today. Something's off. Without that ring light, you're off a step. Well, speaking of my ring light, so I have my ring light because I've got two very exciting jobs coming up, and since I just semi-completed one of them, I can tell you. So one is interviewing Danny Zucker. I don't know if we've mentioned this before, but he is the executive producer of Modern Family and was one of the writers on the show.
What?
Yes.
I think you mentioned it when you couldn't mention it.
Yes,
but,
so
right?
now I can because now it's official. So I'm interviewing him for this event in a few weeks for our National Federation System, Jewish Federation. So we had a pre-call, and I got to try out my light, and I got to talk to him, and he is the menchiest of menchies. I mean, the greatest guy.
Does he need us for anything?
I mean, yeah. Well, I will get to that when I interview him. Trust me, I will. I'll ask him if he needs two sisters who are, very ferociously beautiful and talented.
Especially
Ferocious like that, yeah.
Ring.
Rawr. So I'm very excited. So the pre-interview went great, and now I'm doing the real interview on August 2nd, and so after that I'll be able to tell you all about it and what he said. But that's why I have this cool ring light. They sent me this in advance, and now I'm not going to give it back. I'm going to pretend that I totally lost the whole shipping container. The funniest is this it came, you can't see it, but it's one of those black production boxes that's insulated, like totally, and it looks like there's going to be a ton of camera equipment. It looks like something that they carry around when we do my show for PBS, right? And it's got all these lights and stuff like that. I open up the whole thing and there's literally like this little box with the ring light and then a little lavalier mic. But still, it makes me feel very cool. But it's remarkable what the light, how it changes everything. Everything.
The right lighting.
The right lighting. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Mommy would tell stories of going on these trips with her colleagues when she was working at Belk, her colleagues that were younger and really into selfies, and how they would move around their phones looking for the perfect lighting. And that's how she learned to take a good selfie.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that's good. That's a good tip, actually. So now I do that.
And a lot of people, especially if you're in front or next to a beautiful vista or a view or landscape, and you want the landscape in the background, but if the landscape that you are looking at is well lit, then that picture is going to be horrible because you're going to be dark and you won't even be able to see the background.
You'll be backlit.
People don't believe me, right? Like all the time, people want me, not all the time, but when I've been places, I'm like, well, you're going to have to face this. They're like, no, but we want this in the background. I'm like, I get that. It's just not going to look like a good picture. So there are, frankly, like probably, dozens of people around the world who don't have themselves in front of, I don't know, the lake, the mountain, or the Eiffel Tower because the lighting just wasn't good enough for me. I'm so sorry. Couldn't take that picture in good conscience.
Right? I know. And it's funny because we are taking selfies together and someone inevitably will come up and like, oh, I can take that picture. And we really don't want them to because we know they can't get the angle we want, but we have to say yes anyway, and then we delete it and we retake it.
I look so much better in a selfie than a regular picture?
I think it's the angle, right? And you can direct where the light is. It's not that it's the selfie, it's that what angle looks good and the lighting versus if you hand it over to your husband. I feel like you've trained Alan, though.
Oh, yeah, he's good. He's a good picture taker and a good selfie taker. He's got good long arms, too. You got to find here's the trick. If you're ever in a group ever again, if we ever get to, I don't know, socialize or something like that, and you need somebody to take a picture of you and your friends, find the tallest person in the room because that angle, they will naturally be looking down on you, right? Just literally, not figuratively speaking, we hope. But find the tallest person in the room, and I promise that picture is going to be really good.
They're a human tripod.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you're killing it on the selfie side of things. And speaking of killing it, this is my transition to what I want to talk about. I killed something yesterday, and it was so scary. I had to kill
something.
I had to kill a roach. I had to kill a roach. Luckily, it was not a flying roach, and it was a small roach. I was just going to ask if it was a
flying cockroach, which are the worst.
No. It was small. It was like the size of a jelly bean, but it was a roach. And I kept on like trying to smack it to kill it. And then I'd like throw paper towel on it and oh God. Sorry. I just knocked over I was gesticulating and almost knocked my laptop.
You literally just punched your laptop.
Yeah. So I every time I'd like think I smacked it dead and then I went to go pick it up with the paper towel, it'd like run away. So I'm like making all these awful noises, and Oscar is too, and I'm running to the bathroom with like my arm extended as far out as I can, and I drop it in the toilet and flushed it. But when I was little, I don't know if you know like the whole background of me not killing bugs.
You mean the Dixie Cup story?
Yeah, so Daddy would come
We talked about this before, I think.
We did?
Yeah.
How Daddy would come home and there'd be upside down Dixie cups, and he'd be like, why is there an upside down Dixie cup? And he'd open it up and there'd be a grasshopper spider. What are those? The jumping spiders, and he'd be scared. So I was proud of myself for killing that roach, and I will not do it again.
Yeah.
That was done.
No, catching bugs, it's so funny. That is one of my phobias too, because I really, especially if I'm home alone, I have to psych myself up for that. I've got a trick now because usually I try to set them free. If I can avoid killing any living being, including bugs, I will try. But so I'll bring a clear drinking glass, right? Like something really big, any clear thing so I can see it because I don't want to guess that it's under it. And then a stiff cardboard like piece of paper, right? It can't just be a flimsy letter. So what you do is you cover said bug with the clear container if you have, and then gently slide the cardboard and then turn it upside down. So now it's the top, and then walk out of the house. Then set it down with the cardboard still on it and take it off and run away. Run away. Yeah.
Why are you not doing this over the toilet? Why are you catching and releasing bugs and outside? Look, it's one thing if it's like a cute bug, but would you do that with a roach?
No, gosh, no.
Yeah, no, that goes
gone.
straight to the toilet.
They don't get the cup treatment. The cup treatment is mostly, especially like stink bugs who, those suckers are so slow anyway. I could catch that one in slow motion.
Yeah. I don't kill stink. You can't kill stink bugs.
And you can't kill a stink bug. Well, you could flush it because then it doesn't stink. But
well, so I'm laughing because I have this memory of when you stayed with Uncle Billy when you worked for Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And then I
stayed with Uncle Billy. Let's be clear. I lived with Uncle Billy for 9 months. So
that's a long time.
When you say stayed with him, and that was my second time to live with him. It's a rite of passage. But I legitimately lived with him for 9 months. So if he heard you say I stayed with him, it sounds like I stayed over for the weekend. No, I was full on living there.
I was there for like a week, and during that time, it was just me and you. And I don't know how you convinced me to let you drive the Acura Integra, which is like a tiny two-door, and you made me drive the Suburban, which is like driving a truck around Atlanta when I'd not been used to Atlanta traffic. And this was before GPS, so I had an internship, and all they did, and I hate driving. I mean, now I'm fine with it, but before, when I was 19, I was driving around and a Suburban in Atlanta, and I was just like, you better get out of my way. But anyways, when I remember staying, and there was a giant spider on the ceiling, and you had to kill it with a broom, and I have a picture of you had wrapped a blanket around your head because you were so afraid. And I don't think you were even wearing your hair curly. And I have to say, as a curly-headed person, my biggest fear is a bug falling in my hair and getting stuck.
I was going to say, I had to have put on the blanket because I was thinking if I take the broom and knock the spider off the ceiling, it'll fall on my head. That's it. That's what I'm thinking right now. So I know I was thinking that before. It had to be. Did I ever tell you about one of my first dates with Alan in that house? So
I was there.
Well, not that. It wasn't that weekend. Like one of our legitimate first dates. That was a sort of date.
That was an illegitimate date?
Oh, yeah. That was a pre-date. That was a precursor to the real date. But so I know you're wondering why I keep being in Uncle Billy's house by myself if you're listening to this. But Uncle Billy actually lives both in Atlanta and New York. So every so often he'd be in Atlanta, then he'd be in New York. So I was also the house caretaker. So I was in charge of the dogs and the dead possum in the backyard. And
it's like a Scooby-Doo. Yeah. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode.
There was never a dull moment. And so one of our dates, we came in. And so as you go off the kitchen, there was a little living room area. And a bird had crashed through the window. Either it crashed through the window or the window had been broken somehow. That's a part of the story I don't remember. Let's assume the window maybe was broken for some reason, and a bird flew in and was in this room just flying around, fluttering like crazy, trying to get out and panicking, of course. And I'm like, ah! I mean, it's not as scary as a flying cockroach, but what do you do with a bird, right? Like, you can't just be like, here, bird, land on my finger, as if we are in
Disney.
Mary Poppins, and we are going to
sing
me a
my
tune.
Hair.
Yes.
You going to braid my hair?
Yeah, exactly. So I will never forget this. So I'm freaking out like, oh my God, there's a bird. Alan walks into the kitchen, calmly looks under the sink and finds an old plastic a plastic grocery sack, right? Walks into the little living room. The bird is... I know this sounds like an urban legend. I swear this happened. He's listening to this now, and he's going, yeah, this is exactly what happened. Or he is probably saying, I have no recollection of this, like Michael Sokol. So he walks in with the plastic bag, and the bird is sitting now either on top of the door sill or somewhere where it's still. He gently puts the plastic bag over the bird, holds it at the bottom, walks outside, and sets it free. And at that moment, I said, I am marrying that guy. Because if he can trap a wild bird in a plastic grocery bag, I bet he can kill cockroaches. And that's the kind of guy I want to marry.
Your husband is more and more like Davy Crockett.
He is like Superman. He has
wrestled a bear with his bare hands, traps birds, and sets them free. What else?
Oh my gosh.
Alison Lebovitz.
The funniest is, so he also, speaking of Alan, he he is so kind to our neighbors. So we've been living out at the lake right now, and most of our neighbors are either our age or significantly older, we'll say. And there's a couple that are a couple houses down from us who I think they're probably 80 years old, Pat and Jerry. It's like the cutest couple, and they're hilarious. And Alan adores them. He's always checking on them and making sure that they're okay. So we're out swimming, and we see them, and they're out on their dock, and we're just kind of swimming in the lake. And hey Pat, hey Alan, he's going back and forth. And so what does he ask them? He's so funny. He goes, "How are you guys? Good. What are you having for dinner tonight?" That's his question. Like we live in a retirement community. That's the only question we can think of. That's like the natural second question. How are you and what's for dinner tonight? To which Pat, the female, by the way, Pat's the female and Jerry's the male. Pat responds, "Fish sticks." And then, of course, the natural follow-up question to that is, "What kind of fish sticks?" And
What's
she says,
on the side?
yeah. And she says, "Well, Gordon's, of course. They're the only ones that use real fish," which is hysterical. So he's like, "All right, have a good dinner." And so we start laughing. And I said to Alan, the funniest part is you hear about like life, coming full circle, right? That like you start off crawling and needing your diaper change and eating soft food, and you kind of end life the same way. I'm like, when's the last time you ate a fish stick? Like really? Like unless it was related to my kids, it was probably when I was 5 years old. But now I can look forward to it when I'm 85 years old. Fish sticks are coming back.
So we hosted an excursion for Murray and some camp friends and got fish sticks for the kids along with chicken nuggets, which also I hadn't had.
Yeah.
And we had to get kosher chicken nuggets. And one of the moms pointed out the packaging on the back and how the company was like a kosher food company. It wasn't just like chicken nuggets that happened to be kosher. It was like a Jewish kosher food company, and you knew by the description on the back because she's like, "You have to read this." It was like the convection oven way to cook it. It was like if you have a toaster oven, and then it said microwave on the bottom, and it goes, "We."
Was it like, "Honey, please don't do this"?
It was that would be like the Southern Jewish grandmother. It was like, I'm gonna do another accent.
Oh, here we go.
It was like, "Well, we don't recommend that you put the chicken nuggets in the microwave. The best in the convection oven. But nevertheless, if you choose to put them in the microwave, do it for 2 minutes." But just a reminder, that's not what we recommend.
Right. If they come out horrible, it's not our fault.
I swear to God, that's what it said. It was, and I'm not exaggerating. It was like, like no judgment, but we judge.
This is like an episode on the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, right? This would be something her mother would say, right? "Midge." Well, they didn't have microwaves back then, but if they did, she'd be like, "This is the way to cook it." That is hilarious.
Oh my God. I took a picture of the packaging. It's somewhere in my Google Photos, and I'll post it to our Instagram or Facebook or something. Although I said I would do that with our picture last week and I didn't do it.
I want to know what it said on like the calorie count. Now, look, if you want to look at the fat content, you're welcome to, but don't get all crazy about it. You could use a little meat on your bones, okay?
Well, your husband, on the other hand, I know he wants to eat the ketchup. We recommend mustard. It's a 0-calorie condiment.
Right.
Use the brown mustard. It adds a little oomph to it. God, then it's good. It's just,
I think whoever this brand is, they're missing out. They could have you as their corporate spokesperson, and I bet you would sell so many kosher chicken nuggets, they wouldn't know what to do.
I would all the cooking shows that I would do for them would just be me putting it in the convection oven,
right,
and tasting how crispy it was. I'm not going to do it in the microwave, but nevertheless, if you want,
nevertheless, it did not say nevertheless.
It did. I'm telling you, it said nevertheless.
Nevertheless, when is the last time you saw "nevertheless" on instructions on how to cook anything? Right.
Very, very conversational instructions on the back. Right. So there you go.
And if you take them out and then you go, "Oi, these are terrible. Don't call us."
Yes. Don't blame us. You could have made them from scratch, and you didn't. Nevertheless, if you're going to use the frozen chicken nuggets, we recommend ours. They're the best.
Nevertheless, it's going to be my new favorite catchphrase. I can't wait to
Right?
incorporate it in everything I say from now on.
Nevertheless, we appreciate you listening to the latest Sis and Tell podcast. I'm sorry about all the bad accents that I did. I'll work on my Leno. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to share us with your friends.
As always, this has been Amanda and Alison with a whole lot of talk about a whole lot of nothing. We'll catch you next time.
Sis and Tell.